For the newly minted 1,000 subscriber Louisiana versus all y'all, first guest of the new millennium, I guess, of Louisiana versus all y'all subscriber hood on YouTube. We go back to Danny Broussard, who fresh off a fourth straight state title with STM, and I'm assuming just turned down the UNC job because they're announcing Hubert Davis is heading back to Chapel Hill. Coach, what's going on, man?
Oh, yeah, I had that's the first I heard that. I hadn't heard that who had got the job. Yeah, really, Hubert Davis. That's interesting. Yeah, no, North Carolina. I mean, maybe my phone was off the hook. I don't know, but I don't think I got any missed calls from the North Carolina area code. I said all along, man. I don't think I know one thing. I can never coach NBA. That is a fact. There's no way. College, maybe I could. I don't know, but man, it's I don't know if that's just my cup of tea. I think I was built for high school basketball, and it's probably where I'm going to stay for sure until who knows. But yeah, I enjoy what I'm doing, and the college game is getting to be looks like it's pretty tough. Jared, it's kind of funny. I'm watching the TV, and I'm thinking to myself, just how long ago was it? 3 years ago, or was it 4 years ago that all of a sudden it went away from motion and back screens to all now high ball screens and dribble handoffs. I mean, that's what every college team is doing. I haven't seen one team that hasn't done this. And it's kind of weird because we at STM, I do very little ball handoffs, and we do very few high ball screens. It's just funny. I'm kind of a 5 out because of our situation. 5 out, all guards. Maybe one. Our post, this guy was Bryce Bouillon at 6'2", and he could kind of shoot the three every now and then. So we just what we do for us, what works for us. But it's just amazing to me how everybody's running the same thing. And of course, that was a heck of a game between UCLA and who was UCLA and
Gonzaga. Yeah,
Gonzaga. That was a heck of a game, man. Wow. But anyway, I just kind of was curious about that. I can't think of how long ago it's been where it's all that's what everybody's doing now. And dribble drive at one time, Calipari made it popular. Everybody was doing dribble drive, and you very seldom see that. I don't think Calipari's even running dribble drive, but much. He does it some, but not a lot. So the game's constantly evolving, and I try to stay up on it too, but I kind of do what works for us. And I am actually in my fourth different offense since I've been at STM, in almost 40 years. So I guess once every 10 years I try something new. But what we have right now is working pretty good for us.
Yeah, no doubt. As I mentioned, 4 straight state championships in D2 for you guys. And I want to eventually get back to some of the March Madness and college level talk, and just ask what you thought about watching a lot of those really exciting games last couple of weeks. But looking at you guys, you entered the playoffs on that 22-game win streak, and then were able to still get the best out of those guys even that late in a win streak and just keep rolling, won those 4 playoff games by over 22 points. What was that run like for y'all? Just, it seems like when you got a couple of those football players back and everybody was able to kind of gel together, you hit a gear and nobody was able to keep up.
Yeah, Jared, I was really surprised. Obviously I knew we were going to be pretty solid, once the football guys, but I was really shocked about how quickly they came back into basketball playing shape. And the second thing was how quickly we really did gel, just the chemistry was there. And I could tell from, so it's kind of funny. We get them on December 27th, I think. And the Sunkist shootout, we had played one game in the Sunkist, took one day off to go watch our football guys, and then re-entered the Sunkist again. So it was the first time we ever had done that, where I told the coach, I'm sorry, but that we can't play. I just don't feel right playing on a day when our football team's playing. So we did it Monday, then took the day off, and then played 3 more. And to think that these, like a lot of them, half of them, came back the next day, Carter Domingue being what he makes the MVP of the Sunkist, Mr. Basketball. And, but I knew after the finals of the Sunkist that and Wesley and Nick, my assistants, they always believe, they said, Coach, once we get them back, we're going to, we lost 4. We're going to be okay. I'm like, I don't think it's going to happen as soon as you guys think it is. And again, they were right and I was wrong. We just gelled right away. And Jared, I can't tell you how much energy, how much physicality that these football guys brought to the table, And when you top it off with Carter Domingue, who's, the MVP in the state, I just can't describe the intangibles that Carter Domingue possesses. I'm still amazed that the Division I coaches are not, and I get some of it because of COVID, but regardless, it's beyond me that they don't recognize what this young kid brings to the table. I mean, he's not 6'7", but he's 6'3". He's strong. His outside shot has improved tremendously. His 3-point percentage went up 7 points, Jared, from last year. Now, this is while he's still playing football. Can you imagine when he goes nothing but 24/7 to basketball, how good his 3-point percentage can get? And he works hard. He's a hardworking kid. He's got a 4.0. He's the student council president, great leader. Again, that it's beyond me how that kid's not. The other D1s are not all over that kid, but they're looking for the wrong things in him, I'm telling you. But it is what it is. But so you brought him to the table, and all of a sudden, he brings everybody together, and he just got it going for us early. And like I said, after the sun kiss, I was like, man, we're way ahead of where I thought we'd be.
I don't even have to ask you questions because I was going to ask you about Carter and the week that he had and everything that he meant to kind of be a leader on that team. And you covered a lot of what he brought and the type of year that he had. And you've had some great ones through the years.
Yes.
And you mentioned a lot about Carter. You talk about Jaden Shelvin and some other guys that you have this year that have really been special with you these last few years.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. You take those two all-state candidates. They both Jaden made second team, Carter's first team. They're just besides being good basketball players, they're good kids, man. Again, great point averages are off the roof. They're easy to coach. They make everybody around them better. You heard that saying before, and it's true for these two guys. They really do. And so I think that's why you saw guys like Christian Landry, who's our only junior starter, really have some success because so much attention brought to those two guys. Guess what? You kind of pick your poison with us this year. You're going to want to try to stop those two. Well, Christian left alone on the wing. He could knock down threes. He had our best 3-point percentage. And so he was knocking them down. And then, we talk, me and you off there, talk about how Jack Besh. I know he's, he was the bootlegger guy for you. I know you've had a pretty good relationship with Jack. I mean, I can't describe how much that guy, when he comes to the game, everything changes. People start getting the rim. He changes shots around the rim. He blocks shots. He had 15. He came close to the school record. He had 15 rebounds against North Central when we played them at the Burton Coliseum. 15 rebounds, 12 points. The only thing he didn't do was he didn't have a ton of assists. He wasn't really a passer. But Jack just brought so much energy on that court. And I'm telling you, in our playoff run, I mean, that cat just was he's a difference maker, man. When he gets on the court, he just is. You bring into the picture, you throw in the two other football players, and Bryce Bouillon took like 4 or 5 charges against Liberty, kind of took them out of what they do because they're really good at getting to the rim. And he kind of took all that away from them by taking charge after charge. They got very hesitant about going to the rim like they normally do. And I noticed they were pulling up, missing shots that they normally make. But when you do something like that, take charges, that's what it does to the other team. And then Tobin Theveno was coming off an ankle injury. Interesting enough, he played 15 football games, no injuries. One of his first games back with us, high ankle sprain. He's out for 3.5 weeks. We thought we lost him for the whole season. My trainer called me and said, "Hey, Danny, it looks good for him. I think he might be able to start maybe right before playoffs. He might be able to get in there." He had some big free throws against Liberty because we were struggling to score early on, and he came in and hit some big free throws, kind of get the gap a little bit, and then that game kind of unwound for them. They got in foul trouble, 2 starters out. Next thing you know, we up by 20 in that game. So, but I really thought Liberty was one of the most talented teams we had. And then Toby comes into the state championship game. We're up by 4. He hits back-to-back threes. Next thing you know, we're up 10, and that game took off. We got up 20 at half. So we were just playing the best basketball. Somebody said that went to the game and said, "Man, U-High was really down this year." And I said, "Well, I'll just say this. They beat Zachary, who happened to be the 5A state champs. They beat Dunham, who were Division III state champs. And they beat Jehovah Jireh, who was the Division 5 state champions." So I said, they beat some pretty good teams this year, and their record was only had 4 losses until then. So, no, I just think we kind of took U-High out of what they do and made them look a little bit worse than they were. But that was a really pretty good basketball team that we beat in the finals. And, I mean, just really took them out of what they do.
I think I'd mentioned y'all having a case as maybe the best team in the state in any classification this year. Is that something that you think about or talk about much after the season? Because Dunham got y'all, but that was very early, very different teams at that point. Yeah. When you walk away from this year and look at kind of top teams around the state, do you feel like y'all have as strong a case as anybody?
Yeah, I think we do, Jared. I say, if you look back at our last 2 years, Jared, again, we had almost everybody returning back, but we're 52 and with all the football guys, we're 52-1. We only lost one game in the last 2 years. Now we've lost 8 total, but 4 before the football guys. I'm sorry, 3 before the football guys last year, 4 this year before the football guys. So when we have our whole team together, I just thought that, I thought Madison Prep, they had a good first quarter against us, and then we pretty much dominated the rest of the game, won by 7 at a neutral site too. It wasn't like it was at our home gym. It was in the Cajun Dome, which is a neutral site, and beat them. And I think Madison Prep's one of the, they're always one of the better teams in the state. And I thought this year they were pretty darn good. They won the state championship. So I just feel like this year's team, the teams that we played, and our wins at 26 in a row. And again, there's some argument for other years that we weren't, and I agree with that. But I think this year, there's a pretty good argument for us being the best team in the state of Louisiana.
Each year's team has kind of its own identity and goes through its own struggles and ups and downs and whatnot. And so it's hard to, compare and say this team is the best team, this team is the best team from year to year. But when you look through the years and the great teams that y'all have had, what's going to stand out about this group, and whether comparing, contrasting in any way, even if it's not necessarily a ranking type dynamic, just what do you remember most about these guys and what they went through?
Yeah. Well, obviously, when you bring COVID into the picture, it's that in itself makes it, really special. Jared, I think we played 36 games this year. That in itself, you look at some of the Orange schools, they played 15 to 17, 20. So we got very fortunate with COVID. We had it early on. Maybe that was a blessing in disguise that some of our guys got it early, and we got it so early that we didn't even miss a game. And we played in the Centerville tournament, and our guys had just come back. I was really worried because we only had 2 or 3 days of practice, missed 14 days. But so we got through that, and then we got through the season. And at the end, we had another episode with contact tracing. So we had to hold some guys out for that. So, the front and the end, and other than that, we got through it pretty risk-free, which was really crazy. So that's going to kind of stand in my mind is this COVID era that we in, that we were able to do it through all of that, But again, kind of what I mentioned earlier, I thought the depth of this team is probably one of the deepest for sure in Cougar history. And again, I prided ourselves in having depth. I try to build it. But this year's team, I'm telling you, there was never any doubt I could put in 12 guys at any point in time and feel comfortable that we could, at least maintain a lead or extend it. So that's going to go to mine. And then, sometimes you get a special player like the Lyle Moutons, the Brandon Moutons. You get those every now and then, but I happen to have 2 at one time, Jared. So I think when you combine those 2 special players, I think it explains why we're on a 4-year run like we are. And then, obviously this year is really special just because so much experience back, and we just rolled through our opponents. We really didn't have much. I don't know what the close Westgate, which I was out because my wife had COVID, so I had to stay out. Jared, I want to say this: I don't ever want to go through when I've missed one of the game in my career, but that's before all this modern technology. I couldn't watch it, I couldn't listen to it. I had no idea. And I got a phone call. Hey, we won by 1. All right. This time I had to. I don't know what the word to use to answer, but the agony of sitting back, and one of my dads was had his phone like this and FaceTiming me live, watching the Westgate game. And I'm telling you, I was a nervous wreck. I'm like, you can't control what's going on. I'm like, oh my God. And I want to congratulate our assistant coaches. Look, Wes and Nick, that's a little pressure put on them, when you got to go to Westgate. And they pulled that game out, and then I had to sit through the Turtles game. That was a home game. And we went out pretty comfortably, but they stayed with us for our first half. And so I was kind of squirming there too, but that's something I do not want to go through. Somebody always asks me, do you get nervous coaching a game? My very first game ever, I was a nervous wreck, but ever after that, I think I'm too into the game to think about being nervous. And I got, big games, I get fired up. You got a little bit of, adrenaline going, and you get fired up, but to say nervous is not really the right word, but I'll be honest, those 2 games that I had to sit out this year, there was some nerves there. I don't want to go through that again.
I can only imagine what the Broussard household looked like those nights.
Yeah, it wasn't pretty.
And kind of, I guess, asking about y'all and then transitioning some into the college and just what you've watched so far the last few weeks as we head into this national championship game later tonight. you guys had that long winning streak, and that's kind of been the story with top seeded Gonzaga, is how they handle being undefeated and all those things, and just sort of the pressure that mounts with that. For you guys, as that winning streak kept going, and it seems like you talk about, law of averages and returning to the mean and stuff like that. What was, if there were any, the challenges of kind of keeping those guys locked in and making sure that, particularly come playoff time, that winning streak can't end?
Yeah, right. Right. It's kind of funny because, Jim Hightower and I've been in for a long time, and Jim's a, unbelievable coach. It's kind of funny, he's a Hall of Famer, but we're so different in every way. I'm not sure the similarities we have, Jim and I. We have very, and we've both been kind of pretty successful, but it's just funny how we're so different. Jim he has kind of like a little twang still, if he's from California. He said, Coach, you're not worried about that streak, about mentioning that streak. It's gonna, and I'm like, Jim, I kind of use it to motivate our guys. I said, I embrace it, and I tell our guys, hey, 22, let's go get 23. Don't let anybody stop the streak. So even though, some people say, why would you say that? Just don't, kind of like a no-hitter in baseball, right? If a guy has a no-hitter, you don't go in the dugout and say, hey, keep that no-hitter going. They don't say anything. But no, I embraced it all year. I'm pretty proud of it. As a matter of fact, next year when we start the season, I'm going to tell our guys, hey, the school record's 28. Can we beat it? We need 3 more. It's going to be tough. That's going to be a tough challenge, Jerry, because there's a whole cast of characters who nobody knows about, and I don't know them that good yet either. So that's going to be interesting next year, but we'll tackle that when it comes. I'm still enjoying this championship, by the way. I'm going to milk it for at least another month. But it's funny how it is. But no, we embraced it, and we said, we challenged them. Said, hey, we'll end the year off on a 26 game one. Let's do it. So that's just kind of how I handle that.
That's going to be interesting when you talk about, not having some of the football guys yet, and with the amount of the losing the season you guys lose, and trying to figure out your rotations, trying to chase history in the first couple games of the season will be an interesting dynamic.
It's going to be interesting, and our schedule's not real conducive to some easy games. I tell you, I think about 25 years ago, something hit me that said, man, you just got to schedule tough. You can't try to just get easy win. It's not about that. You got to get teams ready for the playoffs. And so I've always, I'm sorry about that. I've always tried to schedule really, really tough, and I think, Jerry, it's really paid off for us in the last, 10 years. We played a really, really demanding schedule. And I think when we get to the playoffs, sometimes in those pressure cookers, it's kind of like, hey, look, we've been through that. We know what's going on. Let's, we play through some of those things, so I think it's been really beneficial to us.
So you guys are at 26 straight victories and the 4 straight state championships. And you mentioned, you talk about the conversation with Coach Hightower and looking at that streak, and do you talk about it or not? You looked at kind of the history of the consecutive state championships in Louisiana high school basketball history, and y'all are up there in some pretty rare air now too in that regard. What is it when you look at that list of teams and the Zawali teams from years back and see you guys in a group of just 5 or 6 programs ever? How does that register or resonate with you right now? Yeah,
it's kind of neat. Jared, I know you've heard this story before. I think I'm kind of like an historian, and again, I've been at it for almost 40 years. So, but even before then, I was, as a kid, going to the top 28. It's been part of my fabric. Everybody knows that a good friend of mine, Alphonse Ellis, and that's the first time I ever met him in my life, was at the top 28. He used to walk around. He Rapids Parish Coliseum. He'd walk around about 20 times. He had white hair and a red jacket on. You couldn't miss him. And so I got to meet him there, and I got, I just knew a lot about the history. I was kind of, I said, man, I want to do some research and see how many have won. I knew about them, about Zawali, but I wasn't sure about some of the others. And so as I did the research and looked at it, I was like, man, wow, this is, you had a bunch with 3, but then when you got to 4, it really zoomed in a lot, And so, I think it's pretty special. Again, I think at I've been blessed to be at St. Thomas More. It's a special school. It's like somebody said, that we don't only win in basketball, we win in every sport we put out there. We've been pretty competitive and won a state championship in almost all of them except 1 or 2. So, it's kind of in our fabric at STM. It's kind of what we demand from our kids, and so I've been blessed to be there. But, it does kind of, I think, again, we talk about it now about Swally. So I think 25 to 30 years from now, when I'm probably going to be in the grave, they'll be saying, man, St. Thomas More went on a nice little run, and won those 4, and so, it is pretty special. And I never would have imagined, back when I won one in 86, I told you this story before about, this is easy, man. I'm 25 years old. This is a piece of cake. I win 20 of these. Didn't work out that way. But, I've learned, and that's another thing I've learned to appreciate them a lot more now, because, man, it takes some luck. It takes everything. The bracket's got to go your way. It's just a lot of pieces have to fall in place. And so, yeah, I think it'll go down as, and again, can we go past 4? I'm not going to count us out. I'm not going to say it's not possible, because we got some good young kids, but it's going to be tough. But yeah, 4 is really, really special, Jared.
I joked with you a couple weeks ago in one of the group texts after that. I guess it was the 2014, the block charge call, and
yeah.
You went into the offseason, and that was one of your focuses, was kind of referee relations and how to handle some situations. And so as you go into this offseason, and you guys have obviously had so much success, are there certain things that you're kind of looking at and evaluating, and maybe we have to adjust this a little bit if we're going to go chase a 5th, this has to change? Or do you guys head in and you're like, man, we're rolling right now, we just got to keep on doing what we're doing?
Yeah. Our personnel is going to dictate a little bit different. Believe it or not, we got some size. We're going to be kind of bigger than we normally are. And Jared, it's no secret. They talked about Rapids. I wish I could remember what year they were, but they called them the Little Giants because their post guy was like our 6'2". Of course, Rapids high school back then, I think they were Class B or C.
Mm-hmm.
I think they didn't play football, so they were Class B. So they're playing against, but they were really small, But nobody really compared us to us, but we were kind of like Little Giants. Because we were very small. Jared, when you play in 4A basketball with Bouillon, Jack Besh is an athletic 6'3", plays like he's 6'6", but I think he's 6'3" at best. And so when you're playing with 6'2", 6'3" post guys, we really did it with smoke and mirrors. We had no post presence whatsoever. Like, I cannot tell you how many times we posted a guy up on the block, got it to him, he made a move and scored. Dominic Jenkins did it a few times for us, but I'm telling you, hardly none. So that's not our game. That's not what we do. We don't have our backs to the basket. Most of our post players can go outside, kind of shoot the 3. We kind of can dribble drive it to the bucket, open the court up a little bit. So I think this team coming up, though, has some things that I think we can utilize that we haven't. So, yeah, I'm already thinking about ways to take advantage of our size that we haven't had the last couple of years. So that would be, I think, a big factor for us. And then our freshman bunch had a bunch of shooters. So, I'm thinking maybe even up tempo a little bit more and let those shooters go to work, because I think the positive is the shooters. It's when we get to the other end of the court that I'm going to be really concerned about. That is going to be the challenge. That's going to be St. Thomas More's greatest challenge next year is, can I get these guys to buy into guarding? Because it's not our strong point of the kids coming back. A lot of offense, but our defense, we're going to have to really work at it, Jared. Yeah, it's going to have to be a focus for sure.
And I know since the season wrapped up, you've had a chance to turn your attention and watch a lot of those college games, and mentioned a lot of exciting games to get to this point where we're looking at Gonzaga and Baylor to close out the college season. What have been some of your takeaways? I know we've both tweeted about a lot of Louisiana guys making some deep runs. Yeah. Been really cool. Gonzaga and Baylor, 2 teams chasing that title for so long now. Somebody's got to win it. UCLA from first 4 to Final 4. What has stood out to you through some of your spectating?
Man, I think I really felt this going in, and look, my bracket's not great, but I did have these 2 in the Final 4, and believe it or not, I did have Houston, so I did pretty good. Of course, I got crushed like everybody on some of those early games, But man, I just felt going in. I said, this is going to be, I think, a year of. I wouldn't be shocked if I had more upsets than ever, just because of the fact that. How many teams really got on rolls, and, the COVID affected so many teams sitting out conference games, and, like UL had to play a conference, a Friday, Saturday, doubleheader, the same team, just things that had never been seen before, never schedules. I think Northwestern, I saw Jeff Moore posted something about Northwestern held Gonzaga to their lowest, it was at halftime, they had the lowest output of the year. I think that's what Jeff Moore said. But I think Northwestern went over there and Gonzaga said, hey, since your travel plans, you're sticking around, how about just playing us an extra game? So Northwestern played Gonzaga on back-to-back nights, which wasn't part of the schedule. So things that you had never seen before. And so I thought that was going to play into the tournament and have some teams, you know, and I thought maybe there might be a 16-1 upset. That didn't happen, but we certainly had the 15-2. And I saw a stat where 1 through 15, all, you know, throughout the bracket, a one team, obviously a 1, a 2, or 3, but all the way up to 13, 14, and 15 actually all won a first-round game. So I had upsets. So I thought that was going to happen this year the way it was. I mean, man, what a great game the UCLA game was. I thought UCLA was kind of lucky. I talk about this with all my coaching friends. Like, I thought they should have fouled and not let them get a tie ball game. But, boy, they came out in overtime and really they just really put it together. And that's something you don't normally see. Usually the team with the momentum carries over to overtime, and I thought they were in trouble, but they handled it well. I would have personally fouled. I wouldn't have given them a chance to tie it. I would have fouled, make them go to the free throw line. And somebody says, well, they can make the first free throw, miss the second one, get a rebound, and they hit a three. Crazy stuff has to happen for that to win. So I'm about fouling. I've done that for years. But anyway, so I saw some interesting things happen. But, yeah, what a great game it's going to be tonight. And, Jared, I kind of feel like, you know, we talked about that. And I'm kind of maybe I'm going against what I just said. But I don't know. Maybe the college scene's a little different. But I kind of feel like the unbeaten streak might play to Baylor's advantage tonight. I'm picking Baylor to have a little upset, and they might lose by 10. But I think Baylor's I think they can all score just like Gonzaga can. He's got two guys off the bench that I'm impressed with their free throw shooting. He brings Flagler, whatever, off the bench. He doesn't miss any free throws. You got to make free throws in games like this, and I think Baylor has done a pretty good job of that. Their defense is really good. It's aggressive. Depends how the officiating goes, but man, they get away with a lot of fouls because they are just aggressive from the start to the finish. And certainly Gonzaga is as well. But anyway, I'm just thinking that the tough game that Gonzaga had, having to win at the buzzer, Baylor has a pretty easy time with Houston. I'm going to go for my two Louisiana boys tonight, and I'm picking the Baylor band. This is another strange because I'm a Gonzaga fan. I'm a big Gonzaga fan, but I like my Louisiana boys, and I don't know. I'm just feeling a Baylor win.
To see the success that guys like, I mean, the two for Baylor, Jared Butler and Mark Vitale, and for Houston, they had the two McDonough 35 guys and Bryce and Dickey. But so many Louisiana guys, what, if anything, do you think that kind of showed people around the country? And obviously most of those guys are playing for other states' teams other than the guys that were on that LSU roster. But to see guys step up and make those type of plays in those type of games, and now two of them to be playing for national championship, it's pretty cool for sure. Does it make a little bit of a statement?
Yeah, I think it does. It's your slogan. It's your slogan. It's Louisiana, baby. And I mean, I played against both of those guys too, you know. And it's funny, but I tell this story about it was early in the game, and Vital gets between us, and he pretty much dunks it over one of our guys. I'm like, oh my God. So like it's been into the quarter, and I'm like, hey guys, let's see if this guy can shoot it. I'm not sure he can. We know he can get to the rim, and let's make sure he doesn't get to the rim again. Let's make him shoot outside shots. And you know that really wasn't his strength. It still isn't to this day. But you know he was a man. And then we played Jared Butler too, and I never forget it was CC and Butler were going at each other, and they each had over 25 points, and it was kind of a shootout. And so I got to see him. I knew those guys were special when I saw them, you know, coached against them in high school, and it's great. I've been saying for years that Louisiana is very underrated. You know, they all say it's a football state. Hey, I get it, man. But let me tell you something. We're pretty darn good in basketball, and it's stuff like this that shows the rest of the country that there are a lot of good. For years, there've been a lot of good players that play basketball in Louisiana and have gone on to, like you said, I wish we could keep all the talent in state, but it's not, you know, you can't do it in any sport. So, but it's great to see these guys having the success they're having, and it's a good sign for Louisiana. And you know, again, I've been at this a long time, and I think we're always going to have it, because I think this is one thing I've noticed when I first started coaching, that a lot of guys were on staffs were assistant football coaches, and they kind of just did basketball. They really weren't. And then, you know, after about 10 or 15 years later, I started noticing, whoa, it started to change in Louisiana for whatever reason. But they started having guys that were basketball minds that were coaching. You didn't see a lot of just an assistant football coach that said, hey, look, I need you to take the team and coach basketball. It wasn't that way anymore. And now, I mean, when you go, I mean, around the state of Louisiana, Jared, there's some really, really good basketball coaches when you look around the state. And I think that helps out the talent because, you know, again, you can have pure talent, but it's one thing when you kind of can coach them, get some fundamentals in these kids, and it takes them to another level, I think. And I think coaching can do that. And I think you're seeing a result in Louisiana now of how good coaching has gotten and the players, it's showing up on the players on the court.
I know just in the last couple of weeks, Casey Apatre that had been up at LHSAA a few years ago, and he's now coaching out of state. He mentioned at the college level, at least, most of the coaches are out-of-state guys. But as you've seen that shift at the high school level, do you see that sort of starting to change where you're going to have some more of those Louisiana natives potentially take the reins of some of those programs and just continue to bolster the product?
Yeah, I think so. I think you will see that. You know, you looked at the assistants from Houston, Quantus White, and I mean, you know, those guys are quality guys too. You know, and they're moving up on the assistant coaches list, and there's some big conferences now. So yeah, I think you'll start seeing some more of that happening, and some Louisiana guys getting some head jobs in some very good programs. I think that's gonna next 4 or 5 years from now. I think you'll see that happen.
You know, I love that.
Yeah, and you know it. No doubt.
Man, I appreciate you. We're about a little bit less than 3 hours till tip off.
Yep.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you chatting about everything, and wanted to catch you before the end of March Madness, and so we could talk about some of the college stuff too.
No problem. Appreciate you having me on, and I am working on that. I'm working on our pool party for my media guys. So I'm gonna let you know. I'll get a date on that in July, and we'll set that up, and that should be a pretty good little party that I'm gonna put together.
That's one that I think a lot of us are looking more forward to, maybe even than this basketball game tonight. But both of those two are definitely a lot of excitement and anticipation around them.
There you go. It'll be fun. It'll be fun. Good talking to you, Jared. Thanks for having me on.
You too, man. Always a pleasure. Again, he's Danny Broussard, fresh off that 4th straight state championship for STM, and now getting ready to go watch Gonzaga and Baylor play for a national championship later on Monday night. And for Louisiana versus all y'all, Jarrett Roser.